Okay, just got an email, and I'll not say the name, but there are some points, and I'll just pick out some salient points and I'm going to talk about them. Just bear with me, please. Okay, I take no offence to your saltiness whatsoever. I have to say, I'm not the least bit surprised to hear that you get flack for being a little rough around the edges. Just look around at all the social justice warriors and the snowflakes that have been socially engineered to have fragile egos that turn into vicious antagonists at the slightest offence. All the media and government programming is creating a massive hive of brain-dead, emotionally driven zombies. It's frightening, yet oddly hilarious. And it is, I agree. Now, it is social engineering, and these characters are being socially engineered, not just by TV or the government, but they're being socially engineered in the education systems. Okay? So their heads are being filled with nonsense. This individual reports an update on the individual progress. I haven't eaten meat or fish for nearly 6 weeks. Great stuff. And frankly, I don't even miss it. I can feel the difference inside. Now, this is, when you have knowledge, it's just knowledge. But when you start to feel the difference, now you're getting the experience. When knowledge and experience become one, you get wisdom, and it's a process, and it takes time. Everything works better. Wow. Sadly, I haven't done as well with my meditation. I spend more time telling my ego to quiet down than getting anywhere, but I'm going to stick with it until I get there. Right, this is a common thing, right? Your ego is just a story that you tell yourself. And you use meditation to overcome that story that you tell yourself. Now, the ego is kind of like having a, what do they call those things? An audible book. So you might be doing the housework and you've got an audible book in the background, and you're doing the hoovering and the dusting, and the audio book is playing in the background, and it's just chatting away and you can hear it and you're keeping up with the story. But the good thing about an audio book is that when you can't concentrate, when you have to concentrate on something, you can't listen to the book, so you can just turn it off. So the story gets turned off. But unfortunately, you've created this story that's really difficult to turn off. And when you try to turn it off, you discover that you can't. And it causes you frustration. And people get frustrated by that. Oh, I'm having no success with my meditation. What was the word you use? Yep, sadly, I haven't done as well with my meditation. I spend more time telling my ego to be quiet. Now you've all experienced this. Now, what it is, you look at that and consider that a disappointment, but actually that's a success, and I'll tell you why. Because you then recognise that you have no control over that fucking thing in your head. It won't do as it's told. Do you see? So you've got this thing in your head and it thinks it's the boss, but you're trying to assert yourself over it, but it ignores you. And it's the abomination that causes desolation in the holy place. If you are, I don't recommend going to churches, they're whorehouses. But if you go into a holy building, And people go there for solace and the quiet, to be at one with their fake God, okay? But they're usually quiet places. And if somebody comes in and starts making a racket and talking really loudly and crashing and banging about and jumping up and down on the pews, then you would look at them and, who is this abomination, that causes desolation in this holy place? So, but now that you're going into, you're attempting to go into the real temple, and you found that there's a yob in there, and this yob won't shut up. Now, the ego is a tempestuous child. Not a young child, like we're talking like 8-9-year-old. And that's when the ego's really starting to look for things to identify with. It's building a character. Now, the character Jesus said, take no thought. So you're in meditation and you're trying not to think. That's not what he said. It's very specific, and the instructions are really simple. But you have to understand what words mean. Don't take anything at face value. He said, take no thought. So you're there in meditation, you're trying to take no thought, and it's fucking impossible. Because the ego's always there. Right, here's my little Porsche. Let's see, USB stick thing. Hang on, where is it? There you go. Anyway, in the boot. It's in my right hand. Now let's imagine it's a thought. So I'm in meditation, and I've got that little bit of quiet, and then a thought comes from the mind. And I'm going to take it. So let's say the thought is, why don't you go for a drive in your Porsche, Danny? I don't own a Porsche. Why don't you go for a drive in your Porsche, Danny? Oh, and then no, I don't want to drive my Porsche because I'm meditating. Too late. You've took the thought. You're running with it. Let's do it again. To take something is to own it, is to possess it. So I took that thought. I've owned it, I've possessed it, I've energized it, I've fed it, I've validated it, I've given its existence meaning. Okay? So, we'll start again. I'm in meditation, or just starting, and a thought comes in. Hey Danny, let's go for a drive in the Porsche. Hey Danny, let's go for a drive in the Porsche. Danny, it's really nice weather. Let's roll down the windows and flick cigar ash on the paw. Come on, Danny. Danny. Do you see? You've taken no thought. You've ignored it. And it's a discipline. And what happens is that the less thoughts you take, because you'll get drawn in, and then you'll catch yourself, oh, you bastard. I took that thought, and then you'll withdraw again. And the ego will keep coming with thoughts and thoughts and thoughts. But over time, it loses its power. And then but whilst you're not taking a thought, what are you doing? You're watching. You're watching for flashes of light. But you're not taking a thought. So the ego just gets kind of, oh, okay. Okay. I know my place. I'll leave you in peace then. Perhaps when you come out with meditation we can go for a drive in the Porsche. And then it fucks off. It's when you have that split in your psyche. Psyche means soul. When you recognize that the ego is not you. And then you recognize that I've been identifying with this voice in my head for so long, I think it's me, but it's not me. I'm watching it. I created it. I am the creator of my mind. Did you just hear what I said? So if you created it, you can uncreate it. You can remove the abomination that causes desolation from the holy place and put it in its rightful place, where it becomes a servant, where you'll love it, but initially you're going to hate it. But then there's a shift in power. It's a psychological thing. Psychological. Science of the soul. That's what it means. And then you do this naturally. I was talking to somebody on the phone today. An interesting conversation. And your mind will say something like, "Oh, he's annoying me. Punch him in the face." But you hear the mind say these most absurd things, but you don't do it. Sometimes people do, but you generally don't do it because you think that's the wrong thing to do, man. So you already exercise power over the voice in your head, do you not? You see? So what happens is that becomes less and the other becomes more. And it's a dance, it's a divine dance where the ego's allowed to play. It's a servant, and it can play and it can share. But it has to be controlled. But it's this truth that it's this truth that makes you free from the bondage of the mind, the control over you. Jesus said you have to basically hate everything if you want to follow me. And what he's saying is to the people that are suffering, these individuals that struggle with their God, they endure it. And they're depressed, pissed off, they recognise something's missing, they don't know what it is, something's wrong, they can't put their finger on it, they're on the keyboards, they're on the internet, they're looking for the truth, and all the while the truth is within. And then your path will get narrower and narrower, and then you start turning it inwards. And then you realise it's just a story. And a story can't be held accountable for anything. It's a story. You can't take it... How do you put this? In the recent past, they were on about taking video game producers to court because they influenced the shootings, like in Columbine. But no, it didn't. It's those individuals that went out with the guns with the intent. Now, the games may have played a role in disturbing their psychology. There's no doubt about that. It's a simple equation, people. Put shit in, you're going to get shit out. And but you can't hold a game or a game producer responsible for the actions of individuals. And then you need to apply that, that equation to yourself. And then when you realise that story that you've been telling yourself, that voice in your head that sometimes puffs you up and makes you feel good when you shouldn't, or it tells you how shit you are and how inadequate you are, causes all sorts of emotional upset. But then you realise it has no power at all, and then you control it. Your higher self is the master and it is the servant. And sometimes it will come back and catch you out. That's okay, it just keeps you on your toes. If you start backsliding, when you backslide, it catches you out. Ooh, back on your toes. So then you come back into meditation to take the reins again. And it's this higher consciousness that becomes aware, but the higher consciousness is in you, and it's the ego that acts out in the world, the story. It's a fiction. A fiction can't be blamed for anything. And when you recognize that you are not the mind, but you are actually the I am, you are the unified field operating in a suit and using the ego as a tool, as an implement, then that makes you free. And it doesn't matter what people say, although they will piss you off, scoffers and all the rest of it. They're just annoying. Right. So I hope that helps people with meditation. Take no thought. Don't own it. If you own the thoughts that are always presented to you by the ego, then the ego is playing you. You play the ego. It serves you. You don't serve it, and that comes with meditation. The email carries on. I'm wrapping up Genesis today. I'll try and read it in the spirit that it's written. It's a tough read, man. So damn tough. Between the names of the characters and the King James Version language, it's like slogging through a dense swamp at times. Don't get me wrong, there are some great stories, and I enjoy a lot of it very much. But there is no doubt it's a slow read in places. Yeah, it is. It is a slog. It's tough. Like I said, yeah, it took me 3 hours a day, 3 weeks, but I wasn't distracted. I was on a ship at the time in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and there's not many pirates there, so loads of free time. So when I was on my shift, I was just flicking through the page, reading it. I read every single word. But don't try and understand it. Don't study it, for fuck's sake. Do not study that book. It will turn you into a fucking moron. Just read it. It's a kind of magic, okay? Yeah, but it is a tough read. But that's the ego again. Oh, it's hard, this. Ignore that. Just ignore it. Just keep reading it. Just keep bashing through. And really just wanted to say keep up the good work, and thanks for sharing your experiences. I appreciate it very much. I could listen to you for hours, and I do actually. Kind regards. That's well received. So, but the good work is meditation. The good work is cleaning your house. So this individual, I congratulate on their good work. And they will be congratulated as well, because their understanding will rise. They will be lifted up. They will ascend. They will overcome. You see how this works? So, yeah. Social justice warriors. Snowflakes. I'm a social justice warrior, but not in that sense. I'm not here for social justice. I'm here for individual justice, that each individual recognizes that they are actually the physical manifestation of divinity in this reality. Now, some of you might not know what it means, so I'll spell it out for you really simply. All right? You are God in the flesh. Okay? Now, I've got a book, and I received an email yesterday, and it was a text actually, and this lady's bought this book. It's called God Man in the Flesh or something. I forgot what it's called. It's an esoteric book. And I've got that, but I've had it for 2 years and I still haven't read it. Why would you need to read a book when you already have that experience? Everybody is an expression of the Father in the flesh. Male or female, doesn't matter. You are divinity. You are the measure of the universe. So it's you have to realize that in you. And when you have that realization, it can't be taken from you. It is the ultimate truth. You know, and when you have that, everything else just kind of becomes rather insignificant. So, yeah, good email there. It's good to talk about some of these emails because they reveal a lot of things. And there's things that I could pick out to try and help people. And there's a bit here I didn't read. The individual's going through a bit of a tough time. Some personal trials and tribulations. But meditation is what overcomes these things. And it is the chief cornerstone. It is the first brick that you lay when you build a house. Meditation. Because that's how you tune in. You empty your cup and your cup can be refilled. You know, so it's like the ego gets to take some time off. Gets a rest. So you can receive an update. Is it not so that our mobile phones, those smartphones that are really fucking stupid, and it says update your phone, and when you do it once you're fucked. I didn't know that, so I updated my phone, and you know, lost all my data and everything else. But if you look at that as well, is that when you get updated, you lose the old. And then you might stop meditating for a while, and then you'll start to feel a bit, oh shit, I need to update. So you're back into it again. And it should be a part of your daily routine, more important than brushing your teeth, more important than your morning coffee, more important than the multitude of distractions that we have in our lives. Meditation is your staple diet. It should be, it's that thing that satisfies the real hunger. It's that thing that fills your cup. So I thank you for the email there, and to offer encouragement and tips is to keep at it. Keep at it. This is the time to do it. 500 years ago, the people back then that were onto this kind of stuff, they had to put a huge amount of effort in because the energies weren't there. But the energies are there now, right now. And it's ramping up. So you need to get on that train. Just get on it. That boat, whatever you want to call it. The starship, whatever. But you need to get on it. And you get on it with meditation. And it will guide you. Okay? Right, that's all from me, and thanks for that email, and I hope that helps this individual and others as well. Take no thought, clean your house, go within.